Hi all, welcome to Brilliant Botany by Chetana Reddy. So this is Chetana. Today I am before you with the chapter 2, that is biological classification of first PU. So in this chapter, for board examination you are going to get for 2 marks, and for NEET examination you are going to get for 8 marks. That means the number of questions what you are getting from NEET is 2 questions. So totally 8 marks. So for the board examination you are going to get for 2 marks. Okay. So in the biological classification chapter you are going to study how the living organisms are classified based upon the different characteristics. Okay, so many scientists have come up with the different ideas, different approaches in order to classify the living organisms. So among all those taxonomists, Aristotle was the first taxonomist who classified plants into 3 forms. Okay, so he classified entire living organisms into 2 different categories. So one is plants, another one is animals. So how he classified these living organisms into plants and as well as animals? So first thing is that he did only this superficial classification. That means to say he absorbed all the morphological characters. So morphological characters. So you know that morphological characters, these are the external characters. So just by seeing the external characters of living organisms, he classified all the living organisms into plants and as well as animals. So coming to plants. Okay, so based upon the height of plants, again he classified plants into 3 different categories. So plants which are of smaller height, he placed the plants under a category called as herbs, and those which are of medium height, so those plants were placed under shrubs. Okay, and the plants which are of taller, and those plants were placed under a category called as trees. Got it? So this is how he classified plants into 3 categories. One is herbs, shrubs and trees. Next, coming to animals. Okay, so animals, here he classified animals into 2 groups. Okay, so animals which are having the red blood corpuscles were placed under one category, and animals which are not having red blood corpuscle was placed under different category. So in animals, according to Aristotle, we can see 2 categories: animals with RBC cells and animals without RBC cells. Okay, so when it comes to the classification of living organisms, first and foremostly you have to remember a taxonomist called as Aristotle, who classified entire living organisms into 2 groups. One is plants, another one is animals. Again in plants, based on height, he classified plants into 3 different categories, which have written here: herbs, shrubs and as well as trees. Okay, coming to animals. Again in animals, we'll come across with the 2 categories, one with the RBC cells, and second category is that animals without RBC cells. Okay, so this is about Aristotle. Next, coming to the second type of classification, it is called as 2 kingdom classification. So what is the 2 kingdom classification? Actually, after the classification which was done by Aristotle, it was not accepted. This type of classification was not accepted. So the reason is that those living organisms which were placed under the category called as the plants, they also showed the similar characters with the animals. So for this reason, it was not accepted. And also, this type of classification was purely on the morphological characters. So it was rejected. And the next scientist or taxonomist, who is Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, so he did two kingdom classification. So as the name indicates, two kingdom means according to him, according to Carolus Linnaeus, he classified entire living organisms into two kingdoms. Let us see which are those kingdoms now. So the first kingdom is plant kingdom and the second kingdom is animal kingdom. Okay. So plant kingdom and animal kingdom are the two kingdom classification which was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, so here again he placed all plants into a kingdom called as plant kingdom. He placed all animals into a kingdom called as animal kingdom. But later on, even this system of classification was also not accepted. Because, see, in the two kingdom system of classification, Carolus Linnaeus, he did not differentiate about those unicellular organisms, multicellular organisms. He did not differentiate autotrophs as well as heterotrophs. So due to all this reason, again this two kingdom system of classification was not accepted. Next comes another scientist called as R.H. Whittaker. So R.H. Whittaker, by studying entire characteristics of the living organisms, it may be the cell type, whether it is a unicellular or it is a multicellular, if it is whether it is having the cell wall or not, if it has cell wall, so whether it is made up of a cellulose or it is made up of polysaccharides or chitin. And again he observes certain characters like if it is a multicellular organism, whether the organism is made up of only tissues or it has some organs or it has organ system or not. So keeping all these characters or keeping all these points in his mind, he classified living organisms into 5 kingdoms. Okay, now let us see which are those 5 kingdoms. Understood? So first is kingdom Monera, second kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi. See here, this kingdom Fungi is also called as kingdom Mycota. Clear to you? In your board examination or in NEET examination or in KCET examination, if you get kingdom Mycota instead of fungi, you should remember that Mycota is nothing but fungi. Clear? And next is kingdom Plantae and the last one is kingdom Animalia. Okay, so this is the 5 kingdom classification which was given by R.H. Whittaker. This is very much important for your board examination. Okay, so it is important. Also, you may get question like this: who classified organisms into 2 kingdoms? Or else, so 2 kingdom classification was given by. So this type of question you may get in your KCET examination. Got it? So 2 kingdom system of classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Which are those kingdoms? Plant kingdom and animal kingdom. And 5 kingdom system of classification was given by R.H. Whittaker. Okay, so which are those 5 kingdoms then? One is Monera, Protista, Fungi or Mycota, Plantae and Animalia. Okay, so here in the 5 kingdom system of classification, you have to study the characters based on which R.H. Whitaker has classified organisms under all these kingdoms. Okay, so now let's see which are those characters based on which he classified organisms into 5 kingdoms. Okay, so here are the list of characters. I think this table is enough for us to understand how living organisms are classified under these 5 kingdoms. Okay, so you have to remember these 5 kingdom names, and as well as you have to remember these characters. So totally we have how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so we have 5 characters here. So the first character is cell type. So this cell type is going to describe whether the organism is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So in your lower classes you have already studied the differences between prokaryotes and as well as eukaryotes. Correct? So here let's see which are all the kingdoms are coming under prokaryotes and which are all the kingdoms are coming under eukaryotes. Okay, so first if you take up with the kingdom Monera. Okay, so kingdom Monera involves some organisms. So those organisms must be always prokaryotic. Okay, so Monera always includes organisms which are prokaryotic. Got it? And next, coming to the Protista. Protista includes the organisms which are eukaryotic. That means eukaryotic cells have membrane-bound organelles. Do you remember those membrane-bound organelles? It may be Golgi complex, a nucleus, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, rough endoplasmic reticulum. Yes, all these membrane-bound organelles can be seen in eukaryotic animals or eukaryotic organisms, right? So, the organisms which are coming under the kingdom Protista are always eukaryotic. What about fungi or mycota? So it is also involving the eukaryotic organisms. Kingdom Plantae is also having eukaryotic organisms, and kingdom Animalia is also having eukaryotic organisms. So this is about cell type. How easily you have to remember these points, that is very much important. See here, in first column you are going to write the characters. The first character is cell type. As I told you, cell type will describe whether the organism is prokaryote or eukaryote. You know that prokaryotes are going to involve all the primitive and lower organisms. Okay, so coming to kingdom Protista, except Monera, entire remaining kingdom consists of only eukaryotic organisms. Clear? Yes. Next character is the cell wall. See here in Monera, they have cell wall, but it is not made up of cellulose. But instead, the cell wall of kingdom Monera is made up of polysaccharides. Okay, so I'll write here polysaccharides. Okay, coming to kingdom Protista. So in the kingdom Protista, there are few organisms whose cell wall is made up of cellulose. Not all the organisms coming under the Protista is having cell wall which is made up of cellulose. Only few organisms. So we'll study in detail about those organisms while I will be discussing about this kingdom Protista separately. Okay. So only in some organisms we can see the cell wall which is made up of cellulose. Got it? Coming to the kingdom fungi. So cell wall is present in fungi and also it is made up of polysaccharides and as well as amino acids. Please remember this point. The cell wall of fungi is not made up of cellulose. That's the reason why I have written without cellulose. Got it? So the cell wall of fungi is not made up of cellulose. Instead, it is made up of polysaccharides and amino acids. Okay, next is kingdom Plantae. So kingdom Plantae has a cell wall. It is made up of cellulose. Okay, easy. Coming to Animalia. So in the kingdom Animalia, all the organisms, they do not have cell wall at all. Might be you have observed while writing the cell structure of a plant and as well as animals. That is, while you are writing the plant cell and in the animal cell, you might have observed that you have not written the cell wall in case of animal cell. Okay, this is why, because cell wall is absent in animals, but it is well developed and it is present in case of plants. Okay. So now let's see how you can keep these points in your mind. So next character is the cell wall. So in the Monera, cell wall is present but it is not made up of cellulose. Protista, only few organisms have cell wall. Fungi, cell wall is present but it is made up of polysaccharides and amino acids. Coming to Plantae, they have cell wall which is made up of cellulose. Animalia, cell wall is completely absent. Very easy to remember. Okay. So next character is nuclear membrane. So in the nuclear membrane, you know that nuclear membrane is a membrane which is going to surround nucleus. Yes. So here see, in Monera, it is a prokaryotic cell. So prokaryotic cells are nothing but these are the primitive cells. That means it has to include the primitive nucleus. Okay, it has a primitive nucleus but it doesn't have well developed nucleus and also it doesn't have membrane bound organelles. Understood? So for that reason, since the nucleus is very much primitive in case of Monera, they do not have nuclear membrane. Very easy to remember. So nuclear membrane is absent in Monera since it is prokaryotic in nature. Got it? Next, except Monera, remaining all Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia, they have nuclear membrane. Why? Because except Monera, remaining all organisms which are coming under these four kingdoms are eukaryotes. Understood? Please keep this in your mind. See here, while you are writing cell type, only for Monera you are writing prokaryote. All remaining are eukaryotes. Right? Similarly, when you are writing the nuclear membrane character, you should remember that in prokaryotes, nucleus is highly primitive in nature. When it is primitive, it doesn't require nuclear membrane. So for that reason, prokaryotes do not have nuclear membrane. But all are remaining are eukaryotes. They require nuclear membrane. So nuclear membrane is present. Clear? Next, coming to the body organization. So what is this body organization? See here, all living organisms' body is made up of cells. Okay. So as the organisms evolved, so cells were aggregated to form tissues. Tissues got aggregated to form organ and different organs aggregated together to form organ system. So our next character, that is body organization, is going to talk about whether the organism's body is unicellular or multicellular. If it is multicellular, you know that if there is only one cell, it is called as unicellular. Correct? If there are more number of cells, then we call them as multicellular. See, this multicellular, again, the group of cells are going to form tissues. Okay, so tissues together form organs. Okay, so different organs forms organ system. Okay, so if it is here in the body organization, you are going to study whether the organism is unicellular or it is multicellular. Okay, so if it is multicellular, again you are going to study the level of organization. Okay, so what is that level of organization? If it is unicellular, the level of organization will be cellular level of organization. Only cells are present. Okay, if more number of cells aggregate to form tissues, then you are going to call it as tissue level of organization, because you see tissues there. Okay, if tissues forms organs, you are going to say it as organ level of organization. If organs are going to form organ system, then you call that level of organization as organ system level of organization. Clear to you? Yes, now we'll see which are all the kingdoms are coming under unicellular and which kingdoms are coming under multicellular. In the body organization, Monera shows cellular level of organization. Why? Can you remember? It is a prokaryotic cell which is most primitive. Understood? So, they are showing the cellular level of organization. Coming to the protista. So, protista, it is a eukaryotic cell and it is still showing the cellular level of organization. Here, the cells are not getting differentiated into tissues. Got it? Coming to kingdom fungi, it involves the multicellular organisms. Okay, see, please keep this in your mind. Kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista are unicellular organisms. So, when there is a unicellular organisms or when there are unicellular organisms in a kingdom, you cannot expect tissues there, because unicellular means only one single cell is present. Okay, so body organization of Monera is cellular, Protista is cellular. Coming to fungi, it includes multicellular organisms. Okay, multicellular means, remember, cells, group of cells are going to aggregate together and they are going to form tissues. Okay, so since in fungi, okay, so these are the organisms which are the first multicellular organisms. Okay, so since they are very primitive, that means these are the first organisms to show the multicellular body organization. So for that reason, cells are not compactly arranged to form tissues. Cells are very loosely arranged to form the tissues. That's why I have written loose tissue. Okay, coming to plantae. Okay, so the organisms which are coming under plantae shows tissue level of organization, and those tissues have been differentiated into organs. So you can expect both tissue level of organization and as well as organ level of organization. Okay, coming to Animalia, which includes highly evolved organisms. So here, since they are multicellular, you can see tissues. Tissues are forming organs. Organs are also forming organ system. So this is nothing but evolution. See here how the organisms are getting evolved. A body organization of Monera, they are unicellular. Okay, it is showing just a cellular level of organization. Even Protista is unicellular. Then complexity arises. That means organisms are getting evolved. So for that reason, what happens? Group of cells, that means organisms become multicellular. If they are multicellular, they can form tissues. Later on, again when evolution arises, what happens? Tissues can form organs, organs can form organ system. Clear to you? And the last character is mode of nutrition. Okay, so mode of nutrition. So in the mode of nutrition, you are going to study whether the organisms are autotrophic or heterotrophic. So do you remember what are these autotrophs and as well as heterotrophs? Autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. Yes, see, if the organisms have capability of synthesizing their own food, then such organisms are called as autotrophs. So if the organisms depend upon the other organisms for the purpose of food, we call such organisms as heterotrophs. Got it? So based on that also we have classified organisms under these 5 kingdoms. Let's see Monera. Okay, so Monera is both autotrophic and it is heterotrophic. Okay, few organisms in Monera, they can synthesize their own food. Please keep one thing in your mind. In order to synthesize food, that organism should have chlorophyll pigment. Okay, because chlorophyll pigments helps in the conversion of light energy into chemical energy. For that purpose, chlorophyll is important. If chlorophyll is present, that organism can synthesize the food. Okay, so autotrophic, and also few organisms coming under this Monera are heterotrophic. That means they depend upon other organisms. See here in autotrophic, okay, again there are 2 types. One is photosynthetic, another one is chemosynthetic. Okay, and coming to heterotrophic. So in the heterotrophic nutrition, again there are 3 types. One is holozoic nutrition, another one is saprophytic nutrition, and the last one is parasitic nutrition. Okay, so these are all the different types of heterotrophic nutrition. Please remember, Monera are both heterotrophic and autotrophic. Coming to autotrophic, we have 2 types, photosynthetic and chemosynthetic. Next, coming to heterotrophic, we have 3 types. One is holozoic, another one is saprophytic, third one is parasitic. So if you don't know the meaning of holozoic, saprophytic, parasitic, chemosynthetic and as well as photosynthetic, definitely you will come to know in the upcoming videos. Okay, and next, Protista. See, Protista, they are again autotrophic and they are heterotrophic. Okay, next kingdom, fungi. They are purely heterotrophic. Why? Because organisms coming under this kingdom, fungi, do not have chlorophyll pigment at all. So if that is the case, they cannot synthesize their own food. Correct? So for that reason, they have to depend upon other organisms for the purpose of food. So fungi are always heterotrophic. Next, coming to kingdom Plantae. You know, plants will synthesize their own food because they have chlorophyll pigment in them. We have capability of converting light energy into chemical energy. So all of them are autotrophic. Okay, all the organisms coming under Plantae are autotrophic. They will synthesize food by the process called as photosynthesis. Clear to you? Next, coming to the last kingdom, that is kingdom Animalia. So this kingdom Animalia involves the organisms which are purely heterotrophic, because they do not have chlorophyll. They have to depend upon other organisms for the purpose of food, so they are always heterotrophic. Now the point is how to remember this. Yes, say mode of nutrition. First two kingdoms, Monera and Protista, you should write autotrophic, heterotrophic, autotrophic, heterotrophic. Next, fungi and animalia are purely heterotrophic. Okay, and plantae are purely autotrophic. This is how you can easily remember. Yes, if you just remember this table, you can easily write the characteristic features of all these animals coming under the kingdoms. Okay, so here you have to remember the first person who classified. So here you have to remember the first person who classified the living organisms into plants and as well as animals, that is Aristotle. Also you have to remember that who gave two kingdom system of classification and five kingdom system of classification. Please never forget that two kingdom system of classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus. So which are those kingdoms then? Plant kingdom and animal kingdom. Coming to five kingdom system of classification, this was given by R.H. Whittaker. Okay, so which are those kingdoms? Kingdom Monera, Protista, kingdom fungi or mycota, plantae and animalia. Got it? And you have to remember this table, which is very easy and tricky to remember. So in the next class, we are going to study the characteristic features of kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia along with their examples.